Dadu. Detached accessory dwelling unit. Detached, I take issue with that word, with that term, with that very concept. We're talking about building community here, folks, and it's but 20 steps from one house to the other. Cottage, that one's quaint. I like that, but for me it conjures up images of a small house way in the back of a large property, and they have maybe an apple tree and a hammock, and perhaps the people that live there don't come out a whole lot except maybe to tend their garden. Granny flat. Now that one's graphic. I can get behind that, especially when there's a bona fide granny involved. And that's the tale that I'm here to tell you tonight, folks. That's the tale of Bo and Oni's granny, Mollie, and the house she built in their backyard. Bo and Oni over on the right, Mollie on the left, and her daughter Becca and son-in-law HP, they own the land. And that's Mollie in the living room with her sister Freddie and baby Eli, who came along. And I want to call your attention to that there is a lot of light coming into this house, and that's a very important part of the program of this project. I want to also comment on the loft here. Mollie, frankly, didn't give a rip about the loft for her own use. She's not going up there. And this is a multi-generational piece of land and household and a family affair. And so there was some discussion about that, and Mollie's also very clear about her own mortality and realizes that someday her daughter and family or some other family is going to live in this space, and it just made a heck of a lot of sense to build that out. So I got this commission because I'm passionate about what I do. I'm a master of small spaces, and also because Hammer in Hand was really busy, and they thought I'd be a good fit for this project. So thanks, guys. The plans. I was having a cup of coffee the other day in Mollie's kitchen with her, and she said, you know, Sage, there is nothing I don't love about this house. And though that is music to my ears as a designer, I happen to know there's a couple of things that she really doesn't love. One of them is that red circle on the right side in the loft floor plan, and that's a water heater taking up some space. We had really hoped to have a gas on-demand heater outside, and for a number of reasons that just didn't work out, although Lucas thinks those suck anyway, so I feel better already. That floor plan in the loft is also showing the powder room. We didn't build that out, but here's a tip for you. We did stub out the plumbing for it, and when you do that when the walls are open, that costs hundreds of dollars, and if you wait till later when the walls are closed in, you're into thousands of dollars. Onto the main plan over here. The red shape at the top is a heat pump, so we have a ductless mini split with 2 heads inside. And if you do the math on that heat pump and the volume of the space, you're going to come up with needing only 1 head to heat that and cool that space. But that's just numbers, and really, you know, in practical terms, it's really hard to get that air to move into that bedroom, especially when the doors are closed. And Mollie, like a lot of elder folks, are very sensitive to temperature, and it's very important to her that it's cool in there when it's warm outside. A couple other features of this floor plan. We've got a pretty decent sized living room with a bunch of built-in casework, an ample bedroom. The kitchen is a clean layout oriented towards social interaction, and there's an efficient bathroom. There's a couple of circles on the page there. Those are not spiral stairs. We'll get to that in a minute. One of them is, well, they're both actually the turning circle for a wheelchair, and one of them turns in the shower, and that actually does work. So a couple things that didn't work out, at least for me in this plan, is that we have a deep closet showing off the living space, and the intention was to be able to take those walls out later to make access easier. And turns out that was really the only place to put the electrical panel. Right, Tim? So we didn't get that one. Tim of Divine Electric is here tonight. So didn't get that one. Also, we wound up using some reclaimed salvage doors, and therefore didn't get our wide openings. The doors were standard size, so that's what happened. Light. Did I mention that light is important in this project? Every single design meeting I had with Mollie, she said, Sage, you know, I might look like a normal person to you, but I actually don't see very well, and I need a lot of light. It's very important to me. So we accomplished that by bringing in a heck of a lot of windows and also quite a few light fixtures strategically placed. Light is also very important to me as a designer, and on every project I get a chance to, I make what I call a solar study, and that gives me the opportunity to tinker with the length of the eaves and also with the height of the window sill and head so that we can bring in the light we want, which is the winter, and block out the light we don't want, which is typically the summer high angles, even though it doesn't get hot for that long around here. I also did a study on this one of the trellis. I wanted to see what it would look like if we didn't build the trellis, and if we did not, I would have wanted to extend that lower eave just a little bit. This drawing also shows what that powder room would look like built out. Small, but efficient. So, a lot of times in a project, opportunity presents itself, and when you're doing design build, that's an excellent collaboration tool. So Mike the builder of Lasting Nest was standing in this kitchen space when it was just a shell of a building, and he was admiring and critiquing the framing work of his crew, and he noticed he was looking out at the mountains. And he called me up immediately and said, "Sage, I have an opportunity I'd like to discuss with you." And so I came over right away, and we stood in the kitchen with Mike and Mollie and myself, and we decided to take advantage of that opportunity. And so we lowered the sill, and we actually lowered the head of both of those windows on the west wall, but we couldn't make that symmetrical because of all the casework. But I'm here to tell you that that had quite the design domino effect, if you will. We lost the hood and the light over the stove, so we put in a downdraft ventilation system. That meant the stove pushed into the room a little bit, and we lost a little bit of kitchen cabinetry, and later on that led to utilizing a non-standard size dishwasher. There's a drawing over on the left to you with some red ink on there, and you can see also on the exterior, tinkering with the window locations also affected the trim and the trellis, so we had to make some different decisions there as well. And then that drawing at the top is what I drew that day in the kitchen, and it actually got built out quite a bit like that, and I'm pretty pleased at how that turned out. This is a slide of some of our bad ideas. That's true, I confess. Stairs take up space, whether they're straight stairs or switchback stairs or spiral stairs. You have to walk under them or around them, and when you have a small space and every square foot is already at a premium, then giving up the space for a proper stair is pretty tricky business. So I think that when it comes to cottages and lofts, ladder wins the day. And here's another tip for you, a piece of Seattle cottage code. If the so-called storage space is less than 200 square feet, you don't have to provide a legal staircase to get up there. So there are a lot of good ladder solutions. Speaking of solutions, here's a few shots of the bathroom. There's a roll-in shower that's curbless. There's a lot of grab bars and a bidet and a lot of, a couple decent light fixtures and a window for natural light. There's an infrared heat panel on the ceiling and also a whisper green fan for ventilation. And that photograph on your left is showing from the bathroom a couple of the workmen, John and Chris, and they're putting the finishing touches on the project. And it was really bittersweet for John in particular because he really did enjoy watching Mollie interact with the twins throughout the duration of the project while he was on site. It really indeed is a multi-generational property. So success can be measured on a number of different scales. Oh, by the way, my daughter Galaxy wanted me to mention that these are actual photographs taken by me. There's nothing photoshopped here. And that's during and after showing that trellis and window configuration, a couple of nice window boxes put in by Freddie. And I want to point out there's a stone planter that existed on site. We were able to keep that by pushing the parking all the way to the alley. But back to measuring success, I'm proud to say that on this project, Mike the builder liked this house so much, the layout so much, that he'd like to build a copy of it for himself over on the east side of the Cascades over in Snow Country. And I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls that off someday. So I believe that Seattle is a low-density city, and I enjoy the opportunity to densify it in a number of ways. I currently am working for the haves and for the have-nots. The haves being those people who can afford to hire an architect and also pay $150,000 to $250,000 for a second home on their property, and also some of the have-nots, those folks in our community that need a leg up in life. And I'm currently working on a village project with a local nonprofit organization. So I've enjoyed sharing my ideas with you this evening. Dadu, cottage, granny flat. 3 names, it's all the same game. Thank you. Thanks again, my kiddos, Galaxy and Cosmo.